Then he responds to me saying that slaves in the Islamic society were castrated.
The castration of slaves.
That practice came into the Ottoman Empire from Islamic rule and Arabs.
There is a consensus among Islamic scholars that castrating slaves is not permissible. The existence of castrated slaves in an ancient society does not mean that the religion of that society endorses that vile act.
Funny, because in my original video, I also never argued that it is part of Islam. In fact, I clearly say. To be fair, this practice was not started by the Muslims, but the Muslim world was the biggest customer of castrated black or white slaves. They were in such high demand that everyone paid more for a castrated slave, which increased the castration of slaves before their import. Therefore, the Islamic world started actively castrating captured slaves as well. So in his second actual argument here, he responds to a straw man.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Here Redwan is accusing Farid of strawmanning his argument. In his response to Redwan's video, which is titled Islam's Dark History of Slavery, Farid said that there is a consensus among Islamic scholars that castrating slaves is not permissible in Islam. So it was stupid of Redwan to argue that this practice is Islamic simply because Muslims in the past practiced this. And Redwan destroyed Farid by saying that he never claimed that this was part of Islam. This seems to be a pattern in Redwan's responses. I never said that. I never approved of incest. I never claimed to be an expert. I never said that this is part of Islam. Even before going back to his video and check it, it seems like the first reaction that Redwan makes is to say, I never said that. And you know me very well, I never take Redwan's word for it. So I went to the original video. And before I even play the video, let's check the title. Islam's Dark History of Slavery. Not Muslims' dark history of slavery. Islam's dark history of slavery. So we haven't begun, that's just the title, and already we have a link that Redwan is trying to make between Islam and this practice. But the title is not enough, right? Let's watch the content of the video. It's quite a long video. I mean, it's 16 minutes video talking about practices. Muslims did this, Muslims did that, Ottomans did this, Ottomans did that. Let's go to the end of the video, to the conclusion of the video, and see if we can find anything which proves that Redwan is making a link between Islam and the practice of castrating slaves.
But I would encourage everyone to research this and to work on this history, so that we can let more and more people know about these atrocities committed by a very big religious group that has ironically recently started to describe its religion as peaceful. If you think that a religion that advocates slavery is peaceful, then go ahead and call it so. If you think mainly castrated black men traded on open squares in the capitals of big empires is an example of peace, go ahead and call it so. I will certainly not agree with that, and I will be here to give you more and more reasons why I don't agree with that. Islam is not a religion of peace, and never has been and never will be.
So in the conclusion, he's talking about the irony of Muslims calling their religion the religion of peace. And then he gives example why he doesn't think that Islam is the religion of peace. And one of those example is this.
If you think mainly castrated black men traded on open squares in the capitals of big empires is an example of peace, go ahead and call it so.
So in his video, Redwan spoke about so many practices that Muslims in the past did. And in the conclusion, at the end of the video, Redwan is making fun of the idea that Islam is a religion of peace. And he's specifically mentioning castrating slaves as an example why he didn't think that Islam is a religion of peace. And yet, in his response to Farid, he's saying that he never claimed that this was part of Islam. If you never claimed that this was part of Islam, then why you're using this example to show that Islam is not a religion of peace? Subhanallah, ya Apos. Apos, ya Apos. Stop deceiving your gullible fans. Have some respect for your viewers, because some of them are intelligent They are going to go to the original videos and do some fact checking, even though I believe the majority of them, the vast majority of them, are gullible people who won't do any fact checking, who won't bother going and fact checking your statements. No matter how many times we show them that you are a deceiver, they're still blind to see this truth. But hold on, I think Redwan provided some evidence that he never claimed that this practice is part of Islam.
Funny, because in my original video, I also never argue that it is part of Islam. In fact, I clearly say,
Oh, I think I'm going to delete my video. Because apparently now Redwan is going to show some evidence from his original video where he clearly says that this is not part of Islam. But before I delete my video, let's watch the evidence that Redwan has.
because in my original video, I also never argue that it is part of Islam. In fact, I clearly say. To be fair, this practice was not started by the Muslims, but the Muslim world was the biggest customer of castrated black or white slaves.
Wait, so the evidence Redwan provided to show that he never claimed it's part of Islam is that castration of slaves was not started by Muslims? The point Farid is making is that it is not permissible in Islam, it's haram. You said you never claimed it was part of Islam, and your evidence is it wasn't started by Islam? So in summary, Redwan lied and said that he never claimed that it's part of Islam. But the title is saying Islam's dark history, and the conclusion of his video is talking about why he doesn't think that Islam is a religion of peace. And one of the reasons why he doesn't think that Islam is a religion of peace is the practice of castrating slaves. And we come to the end of today's video. Inshallah, we will continue addressing Redwan's hilarious and stupid response to Brother Farid. But as I told you, we're going to keep it short in order to help Redwan fanboys to see how stupid the response of their big daddy. Thank you so much for watching. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.